with the thumb, I'll stop the note again on a downstroke. And it's kind of useful for kind of a country thing, or if you're doing legato. You can mix it up and have some. The mixing up kind of will add certain accentuations to the ones where you choke them. Other ones you let be more legato. And that'll add color to the playing. And it's basically a kind of a country western style, but it can be used in any kind of piece. And the all-finger technique, rarely used on electric. It's more of a kind of an acoustic guitar thing, which I hope to be able to show you some vignettes of that as this video goes along. This next technique I'd like to talk about is fingering. First off, I'd like to get into the subject of what I call positive fingering, which is a term I just like to, where you actually, by a very kind of, can be a long process of trial and error, you learn to find what would sort of be the sweet spot of where your finger hits the fretted note. Much like a violin player tries to find when they're playing their instrument, there's a certain sweet spot they have to learn for the particular type of fingers they have, the particular type of instrument they use. And through a process of trying a lot of different ways, you can find where the connection has a better tone and allows for more concise, clear playing, especially when you're playing fast. So in other words, if I was to kind of just barely hit the string in an inefficient manner, like, now if I was to adjust that to where I found my particular sweet spot, hear it and you can feel it in your fingers. So it's a process of where you're just really kind of making the right kind of connection with it. And it's something that just with, like I say, with trial and error, you'll find what's right for you. Now sometimes the disadvantage of not hitting the fret correctly, you can in a way use that to your advantage if you want more of a kind of a muted sound. You don't want the efficient attack of the string. You want more of a kind of a laid back kind of. Take some of the sprightness away from the note, which if that's what's desired to get, then you can kind of do it the opposite way, which is just kind of using the side of the finger in more of an inefficient way. But typically, I don't really, unless I'm going for that particular effect, I like to try to get that sweet spot. And when you're using a distorted tone especially, you'll notice a difference in the type of tone you get. It's one of the at least it's one of my personal secrets that I try to remember when I'm working on my lead sound, because it really can have a lot to do with the way your fingers, you know, you can do a lot with the equipment, but really it boils down to the way your fingers make that connection with the note. And then of course the other exceptions are if you're playing chords and you want to use the bottom of your fingers. That's of course necessary not to find that sweet spot. You'll actually find that there's sort of a sweet spot underneath the fingers, is the way you hit with those two. Pretty much everywhere you fret the guitar, there's a certain place as per the frets and tonality and your own particular fingering style. And so just a couple other exceptions to this single note sweet spot they're trying to find, other than the chords, of course, where you're playing with the fingers just flat out against the neck. But also, of course, there would be double note lead stuff that you would have to stray from that idea where you're. So the last one will be one that I kind of touched on before, which is actually fingering two notes at once with